Wedding Talk with Mindy and Carol, your insider guide to trends, tips, and stress free planning.
Hi, everybody. This is Carol and Mindy with Wedding Talk. We're here today to kind of talk to you about what contracts are about, wedding planners, and we'll go ahead with Mindy's little spiel before we get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Wedding Talk with Mindy and Carol. Carol and I are two destination wedding travel specialists, and together we do over 50 destination weddings a year. So I'm excited about this topic today, Carol. I think a lot of people have a misconception of what our job is and where it kind of ends.
Yes, I think it's really important. I mean, I know in today's world, a lot of people are busy and they just want to text or they just want to email. But I really think when you're planning something as important as your destination wedding, it's very important to at least interview one to two, maybe three wedding specialists, as they say, to see which one you feel is going to handle your special day with the knowledge, the quality of service that you want, and also just being able to be there for all your guests and you.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I can communicate with my couples through text and all that stuff, but I'm not getting, I think, all the information out to them via text or email because let's face it, we're having a conversation, just like you and I are having a conversation today, and it's that web and flow. So they may be like, oh, now that you mentioned this, I have a question. So I say to my couples all the time, if you just give me like 45 minutes, then after that, we can talk through text, email, however you want. But I don't think I'm doing you a service as your destination wedding specialist if we're not having at least one face-to-face or call or through the phone or something like that.
Yes, I think it gives them some question and answer. A lot of times, email and text leaves a lot of read between the lines type of thing.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it doesn't really give you that personality of that person or the personality of you. And also the knowledge that you might have that they're not really getting into the email. I find sometimes if I send too much in an email, that just gets them out the door. Or if you don't too little, it's just not enough information. So that's one of the reasons I feel just a phone conversation. Zoom's great, but a phone conversation too, just one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer the Zoom as well, but if I can get you on the phone, that's fine too. I just like the face to face, get to know you. And also I think it helps put the couples kind of at ease. They get to see me, and I like to be able to talk and get to know my couples first. It's not like, okay, you want a destination wedding? Well, let's get into it. No, it's like I want to get to know you as a couple. What are your likes? What are your dislikes?
Yeah.
Because in just having that web and flow of a conversation, in my mind, because like you, we both travel these resorts extensively, we're kind of making a funnel, is be like, okay, this may be a good resort for them because they just mentioned this, or this resort will absolutely not work for them because they just told me this, but that's where the knowledge comes from. And that's where asking certain questions and allowing our couples to talk really helps.
Yes. I mean, I feel, sometimes, they don't really know. I mean, when you don't have that first initial conversation, I mean, everybody, we always talk about what is a wedding specialist. Well, a wedding specialist, anyone can put a title on that. I mean, anybody can. It can be a brand new agent that just started and has never been on resorts anywhere, done some extensive training, but still just has never done any weddings. It could be somebody that tags themselves as that but owns just a large agency and has other people that work under them. And it's a
Yep.
call center type thing. So I
Yep.
think, having that conversation gives them some kind of idea. I mean, you're spending a lot of money on your wedding, and this is your special day. You don't want to start off with somebody that they might have a really good sales talk and they might make you feel like they really know what they're doing. But come a month down the road, 2 months down the road, all of a sudden the communication drops off. The guests are not feeling like they're getting taken care of. That just starts to cause a whole rolling effect down the hill that just ends up in a bad, bad situation for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, some of these couples, like they'll go into these Facebook groups. I gotta laugh all the time. It's like, and then you have 1,000,001 agents. I'm guilty of it too. Let's face it. I am guilty of it. But 1,000,001 agents responding. But I know from being in these groups some of the reputations or some of these agents that are not experienced. And just like there are some agents responding that are not experienced, there's also some great agents that are very, very experienced that know what they're doing. It's just you as a couple have to do some of that homework and find who are you going to mesh with. Like Carol and I, we're both different, but we're both very, very similar in the way we run our business and operate and things like that, but at the end of the day, you can be working with somebody for a year plus. And it's not just you, it's your guests as well. So you want to make sure they are there not only for you, but for your guests.
Yes, I always, when I have that first conversation with my couples, I always say, hear everything that they want to talk about. We discuss everything, and then before I close out, I always say to them, now, we're going to be, communicating for at least a year and a half here. You have to feel comfortable with me. Your
Yep.
guests are going to have to feel comfortable with me.
Yep.
And believe me, I won't be offended if you choose not to work with me because you don't feel comfortable with me.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes it's a win-win for both of us.
Right.
If I don't feel comfortable with them, it's going to be a long year and a half, just like if they don't feel comfortable with me.
Exactly.
It's just,
Exactly.
and nothing is worse than when there's that just that little bit of a chip on the shoulder or something before even begins. It just
Yeah.
rolls down the hill and it's not good, So, I mean, I always say that and I always say, have they talked to any other agents? Because, they should. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I always encourage them to talk to somebody else as well because we all do things a little bit different. And one of the misconceptions in our job and a lot of agents out there, they're going to call themselves a destination wedding travel specialist. And yes, they're going to recommend some resorts for you. They may go over the packages with you and stuff like that. But what they're really doing is just room block management for you.
yes, yes.
So
They don't know
you
nothing
as
more.
the couple, again, asking the right questions to the agent that you're specializing in are going to just introduce you to that resort wedding planner, and then they're kind of done because they're just handling the room block? Or are they going to work with you alongside that resort wedding team? Now, it can be, hey, the resort wedding team kind of takes the front role in that wedding planning part because like it's their specialty, their vendors, but you're still involved. I know like for me, yeah, I'm talking to my couples about that, but I'm also giving them other insider tips on, hey, you know what? Maybe we want to look at this photographer. You may be paying an outside vendor fee, but at the end of the day, it's still going to price out about the same as what that in-house photographer is going to be, or other different situations. Or, hey, you know what? I understand you really like the look of these, like, plate chargers, but you could probably order them and bring them with you for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah. And
Little things.
yeah, that, and the thing of it is that that's one of those things in the very first consultation is, is what does a resort wedding planner really do? I think there's a big misconception because we know in the US what a wedding planner does.
Exactly.
And, when you're a resort wedding planner is a totally different deal. And also the times that they start planning the resort. I have some couples that, we have that discussion and they're like, we'll just work with the resort planner. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm totally with that. If you have any questions, and I do send follow-up emails throughout the process saying, hey, have you met with the planner? Have you gotten questions back? Just please CC me in so we can I can see where things are going. And then if you have any questions, I'm always here for you. That's great if that's what they want to do. Well, other couples, they may want a little bit more services. And that's something that, when you work with somebody that is experienced, like Mindy and myself, we know that there's other things out there for you. Mindy and I offer wedding planning services. I also have other wedding planners that I know that if I am busy or I can't go or it's not going to work, if they do want that wedding planner, we can find one for you that will work.
Yeah, yeah. And like what I do, because I realize not everybody may want me on site. Most of the time, if they're hiring me for wedding planning, they also want me on site as well. I find most of the time that's with my larger groups.
Yes.
But I do offer a package that is just wedding planning. You know, you may be really busy and don't have the time or the vision to like look at pictures and be like, "Oh, okay, I like the look of this, I like this," and bring it all together where we can kind of take that and talk to the vendors and bring that vision to life for you as well.
Yeah.
One of the things people don't realize too is that resort team, they're working with you. A lot of times they won't start until like 3 months out. Other resorts may start a little bit sooner, but their job also the day of the wedding is to make sure things are set up correctly and to get you down the aisle. They're not there for you from the minute your guests arrive and everything that is going on.
Yes.
And also the day of the wedding, they're checking in on you periodically. They're not there with you throughout like a traditional wedding planner that you think of in the US.
Yeah.
You know, I joke around at times, like if I'm on site for a wedding, the day of just between running around all day long, checking on the bride, checking on the groom, making sure you know, people are dressed and the photographer and things are getting set up and everything that I'm setting up, it's easily 10 miles by
Oh
the end
yeah.
of the day.
Oh yeah.
Easily,
Yeah.
easily.
You're told,
More
and
like
that starts
12, but like
yeah, it starts
10
at
is,
7.
10
Yep,
is
7
like,
in the morning, 7 in the morning till at least 11:30, 12 o'clock at night.
yeah, yeah. And it's all the little details that are being done. And you know, when I'm on site, once we have that meeting with the resort wedding team, it's like I then take over for them to come contact me for decisions.
Yep.
And you'd be surprised little decisions like, and you know, weather call, for instance. That's one decision. But what about if you had like floral centerpieces on those big, beautiful high stands and it's really windy? And now a decision needs to be made, like, you know what? I think it's a risk to put these florals on these stands because if it blows over, you know,
Mhm.
it can hurt somebody or
Yeah.
water glasses are in somebody's lap and things like that. So it's taking some of that pressure off of you as well on the day of so you can enjoy your day.
Yeah. And I think that's something that that first initial conversation that you have there again, I know everyone's busy, but we can make that half hour, 45 minutes, just anything. Let's talk about these things because most of them don't understand. It's not as easy as just signing the wedding contract. And then, there are resorts out there, for instance, that, if you want a specific, location for your wedding, you have to prepay for that. Otherwise, you don't get it assigned until a later date. And
Right.
if you don't understand what's even going on, and I've seen that contract that they sign when they sign it, it really doesn't discuss that completely.
Yep. Yep.
So I mean, there's so many things that if you're using somebody that, you didn't ask the questions, nor did you even know what to ask, that's something that you need somebody that understands the whole process.
Yeah, and perfect example. What if you're working with somebody that's new and they're like, "Oh, you could just bring the photographer if, you know, from the United States and if they stay 3 nights or more, there's no vendor fee." But that particular resort does not have that policy. And now your couple is going to get hit with a vendor fee.
Yes, and when they get there, when they're doing their final payments, and you're going to get a copy of the invoice, and they're going to be saying, "Why do I have to pay this? You told me." So, I mean, those are the things that, if somebody's experienced been doing this for a long time, you have relationships with those vendors and those resorts that, things change continuously. It's not like something stays
Absolutely.
the same. So, without the education, spending the time, going to the resorts, knowing what changes they're doing and what you can work with, what you can't work with, that also adds up into your price of your wedding package if you don't
Yeah.
interview people correctly.
Yeah.
So, and one thing we were going to talk about is another thing besides the wedding planning services is, you know, um, what people some there's all kinds of us agents out there. There's agents that work under host agencies. There's just 800 corporate agencies that are called destination weddings, whatever they are, whatever their their services or their phone number, that they're just salespeople and they, turn it over and send you another person. And when you call back, you get another person that's somebody else. That's one of the things that when you work with Mindy or myself, you're going to speak with us. You're not going to get off to an 800 number where they slide you from here person to this person because, you're with the person that is actually going to work with you as well as your guests. They're going
Yeah,
to talk to you directly. So that's one thing that you want to also interview people about is, what kind of service am I going to get after you sell me the wedding? Um,
exactly.
y-
Because the selling of the wedding, I think, in the grand scheme of things, that's the easy part.
Mhm.
It's the service of it. What
Yes,
kind of, because how you service that wedding is the first, you know, experience your guests are also having with
yeah,
the person that you chose.
yeah. I think
Are they
it's
responsive? Are
yeah,
they not getting back to you? Is it taking long if you have to do a deviation?
yeah,
Communication is key.
yes. And
And
I, I do think that. I think, we are so, you know, I mean, I think a lot of times too is it depends because some companies are really large and they may have 10 or 12 agents that are working. You might have talked to one person that's a salesperson, and then you get turned over to this person, and she's your service person for the wedding portion. And then you might get another person that's the room block person. So you have to decide what kind of organization you want to work with as well.
yeah. So like I know for me, like it's me and my assistant. But unless we're involved in the wedding planning part where our couples paid additional fees for some additional wedding planning services, nobody knows about my assistant because she's just in the back doing things where the guests and you are only dealing with me. And I think
Exactly.
it's very similar with you too.
It's exactly my assistant does my, travel documents and my follow-ups on certain things. But, other than that, if people call, they're going to talk to me. If they
Exactly.
email, they're going to get the email from me. If there's
Exactly.
questions, I mean, I think it's really, really important that, your guests be treated just as well as the wedding couple because they're booking also a year and a half out. You know, they put their deposit down and then, hey, whatever happened to that lady? Honestly, they don't know the expectations from the very get-go. So I think there's a lot of things that you got to think of as, as the wedding couple when you're doing it. Another thing is that, there's certain companies out there that won't do group contracts versus room blocks, not versus room blocks. And those are
Mhm.
things that are really important that, you don't work in the world of travel or, you're a bride and groom. You have no idea what this lingo is or what this even is. Is this getting explained to you? Those are things that they really need to ask.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to also touch upon that we started to, but like when you and I travel for groups, like I'm getting ready to leave tomorrow for a wedding in Mexico. Um, what are some of the things that you do when you're on location besides the day of the wedding? Because people think, oh, well, you're there for 4 nights. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so I try to arrive before the bride and groom do.
yep,
That's automatically. Sometimes there's a couple guests that arrive before me, but I try to get there, before the bride and groom do the day before if I can, or earlier in the morning. And I meet with the wedding planners when I get there, let them know I'm there. We, get everything kind of set up what we're going to do. Then we meet with the wedding couple on arrival, and then we basically are stationed in the lobby. We have the
yep,
arrivals of all the guests, and whether it's handing gift bags out upon arrival, we meet and greet them. We show them to where they need to go to their check-in at. We give them a copy of their return transfer times and basically tell them when they check in if they have any issues during this personal time, this is where we're going to be here to here
yep,
to here. You can reach me by my text number if you have any problems, room check-in problems, anything you have, let me know. That's kind of my typically before the wedding type of thing. And I'm
Yep.
sure that you do
And
the same thing. Yeah.
yeah.
It's long days. It's long days. I mean, looking at the flight times, making
Yeah.
sure, I have people call me from the airport and they, for some reason, they think I'm there, which, it doesn't say that in the information, but they're like, I don't
Yeah.
see you. Where are you? And I'm like, at the hotel,
Right.
waiting for you. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you do the same thing. So,
Yep. And I have my office hours clearly marked on the travel documents for groups that I travel with. Hey, this is when I will be in the lobby, you
yeah.
know, and then any other events that are going on. I'm also there overseeing them and making sure everything is done because I want my couples to come, put their stuff in their room, and enjoy their friends and family. I don't want them to have to think about anything else. I don't want the wedding team going to them and saying, we can't get this color napkin anymore, or whatever the situation may be. I want them to just enjoy it, and I will handle on the back end any hiccups that may come up.
Yeah.
And if anybody tells you that on wedding day there's no hiccups, they are straight out lying to you. There is always some hiccups.
Yes.
But if you have a good wedding team, you're not going to know about it.
And and the thing of it is they're also there, the bride and the groom, they be getting the brunt of all this if they didn't have somebody doing that for them. Um, because there's always going to be somebody that something's wrong with the room. There's always going to
Yeah.
be
And
something.
I always tell my couples too, when you, if during this planning process, like before we even get to destination, I always say, learn this phrase. That's a great question. Go ask Mindy.
Yeah. And that's
And then like
exactly,
when,
yeah.
and then like when we're on property, because they're gonna come up to you on property too. And then you could be like, that's a great question. Go ask Mindy. She's sitting right in the lobby.
And and I mean, I've even done, the last wedding that I was at, the little guy got sick and they didn't have any, um, you know, um, they didn't have any vaporizers at the resort or anything like that. And she didn't bring anything. So I just went to the pharmacy and picked up some Tylenol and some stuff that, I thought would help him. He had a little bit of a cough or whatever. And she's like, and I said, but we can get you a vaporizer if you need to. We can get it delivered, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, 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 and the bride and groom never had to worry about any of that, you know.
Right.
So yeah, so I mean, those are some of the things, besides the fact of, making sure that the flowers are delivered like they're supposed to be to the groom's room.
Yes.
Making sure everybody's on time, getting them lined up for the wedding, running down and taking a quick photo of the setup of the wedding area so you can go show the bride to make sure it looks like what she was expecting. Those things are
Right.
not going to be done by the wedding planner on site.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know, where do you feel like this service is really needed? If you're a small destination wedding group, you probably don't need the on-site service.
Yeah.
But when you have these larger groups, I would say 50 plus people, that's when you may want to consider the on-site,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you
And
can
I mean,
still
you
just
can,
hire additional services for just wedding planning as well.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, you
yeah.
don't have to have us on site, but I also feel too when my like this group that I'm getting ready to go to, it's over 100 people.
You need it.
So you do need it. There's lots of moving parts to it.
Yeah.
Lots of things.
Because if something happens and, delays with airfare, there's all kinds of things. So, I mean, I always say that too. I'm like, if you have a wedding of 30 people and under, even 40 people and under, you can probably pretty much manage that with a wedding yourself. Just make sure you have somebody in your wedding group that is willing to take on that extra, be that person to go
Yeah.
to
Right.
be that person to go to at the resort and leave it so that you're not taking care of it. Because the last
Mhm.
thing we want you to do is down at the front desk because Aunt Jane doesn't like her room. You know,
Right.
I mean, that's what we're there for. And we can iterate that. I don't know how many times we can put in highlight systems, everything we say, if you have a problem, reach out to us. And they still go to the bride and groom.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot easier, especially with these large groups, when I'm on site, I can handle things there.
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Last thing I want to do is like if I'm not on site and I get feedback from you afterwards and you never reached out to me that you were upset with your room or the room. because
We
you
can't
just
do
spent a
anything
lot of
now.
money to be
Yeah.
there. I want you to have an amazing time. If I'm there and there's an issue, guess what? Your room's getting fixed
Yeah.
because
And
the
exactly.
relationship you have with the resort.
Yeah, I mean I had that a couple of them that, that was at the time that there was construction next door and they had placed their rooms with two little kids facing the construction. Well, that's not good.
Right.
It was the room category they were supposed to have. They just weren't happy with it. I was able to go to the front desk and get them moved
Get them
within.
moved.
Yeah. And, so that's something that, it may be well worth it for you. But, like I said, it again, there again, it is a personal decision. And sometimes the budget just doesn't warrant for it. And,
Right.
we try to give you as many tips and tricks that you can along the way. Um, I just think that, these are the things that, everyone thinks that, I can just go on a group and plan this because this person did this and this person did that. And, just because they did that doesn't mean that you're getting the whole truth if it really worked or not. I mean,
Exactly. Or there may be a better idea for you. You may be
yeah. I mean, how many times
missing out on something that you didn't think of that could have been your wow.
yeah. And and how many times do you see, I mean, I see this continuously because it doesn't even have to do with the travel. You fall down that TikTok hole, you're looking at the TikTok videos and, you can do this wedding for $2,000. Um, yeah, you probably can for this many people if you don't do anything. You know what I
Right.
mean? And, it's just like anything, it's anything to pull you in to get that
Yeah.
sale. And, this is I mean, already when you're deciding to do a destination wedding, your cost of your wedding is going to be a lot less than it would be locally.
Yep.
So, that is your special day. So, if you really have the intention of spending just that $2,000, then you're going to expect just that and you're okay with that. But if you have
Yep.
somebody that really knows what they're doing, they're going to explain that to you.
Right. Right.
They're not going to sell you a bill of goods that you think you're getting this complimentary wedding, which really isn't complimentary at all.
Yeah, you're paying. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
let's face it, people. Nothing is free. You are
no,
paying something
no, you're
for it.
paying for it. You're going to get something down the line. So, those are the things that, that, we try to work with. And I know Mindy does too, is, they say, well, I like this package because it's only $10,000 for 79 people. Yes, but it does not cover, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah, and
Yeah.
they're like, well, what it says. And I said, no, it says one table for the cocktail hour or two tables. You got 79 people. You're only going to have two tables.
Right. Right.
So, so these are the things that, somebody that's done this, you're going to get this taken care of. Before you even start that long road of deciding this is going to be the place where I have the wedding. Because a lot of times I think couples, they buy into a property because they think it's going to be inexpensive. And then when they get down to that last 3 months of wedding planning, they're like way over their budget
Hmm.
because they
Yeah.
had no idea what they were even buying into.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's where the knowledge and the experience comes
Yeah.
back to, working with somebody that really understands this,
Yeah. And
the
like I said, I think, there again, it's sometimes there's just a personality glitch too. You may not be able to work with some people. Some people may not want to work with you. Um, and, I mean, I think that's one of the things with Mindy and I, what you see is what you get. The honesty's there,
Yep.
the service is there. I mean, but if you don't feel comfortable and you feel comfortable with the person that has a great sales talk, then I guess that's right for you, whichever you feel. Um,
Yeah.
I've seen in my years that I've done this because I'm one of the old ones on the block. I've seen, where someone can sell anybody anything. But
Yep.
when it comes down to servicing, I usually will get people that'll call back to me and say, I can't work with this person anymore. Can you help me?
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
I tell people that like all the time too. Yeah. I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not a salesperson. Like, I'm not here to sell you anything. And I also tell people too, like, I will give you my honest opinion of a resort because when we're on site looking at resorts, we're looking at it as completely different than if you're going there on vacation. And I say to them, I'll give you my honest opinion. You may not like what I have to say, but I'm going to give you my honest opinion on it. And then it's up to you to decide if that's going to be the best option for you.
yeah,
But I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if you came to me and saying, "Oh my God, I saw XYZ resort on the internet and it looks perfect." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's going to be the best resort for you." When I know it's not,
No.
because you're going to arrive there and you're not going to be happy.
Yes. And then, the other thing is, I mean, expectations of all your guests as well. You know, you've
Exactly.
got, you've got guests that may be well traveled. You have guests that may never have left the country before. You may have guests that, will come because they're relatives and you chose a resort based off of your friend's budget and your relatives are very well traveled and they're going to hate that resort. I mean,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot of variations in there you've got to think about. And, it's kind of our job to kind of put those questions in their mind. I've been working with a gal for quite some time, and she has high expectations. She's very well traveled. She wants her wedding, at a top 5-star resort. Then when we look at the pricing and everything, her guests can't afford it.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's like, trying to find that sweet spot for everybody can be
Yeah.
difficult at times. And so those are some of the things that, by talking to somebody that is seasoned, that does know what they're talking about, they're going to kind of try to guide you towards something that might be kind of that middle of the line for everybody.
Right. And just because, like, say, for instance, you're not getting that resort that you want, and we're looking at something else, any resort will be able to bring your vision to life. So if you're set on certain flowers, regardless of the resort, you'll be able to have those flowers.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I
Mm.
mean, I just think, I do. I just think there again, there again, we pounded on people about, making sure that you're working with somebody that knows what they're doing. But
Yeah.
sometimes, it may be an age barrier. It may be, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things. I mean, because, there again, I'm old school. I like to talk to my people. I don't like to just email and text. But I get it. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But like Mindy said, just give us 45 minutes one time
Yeah. And then
conversation.
after that, because again, if you get on that call with us, you're going to have, I think, more of a peace of mind than just trying to talk through text. Now,
Yeah.
have I done weddings just through text? Absolutely. Have I done weddings through email? Absolutely. But there's nothing like that web and flow of a regular conversation.
Yes, yes. And the same thing with your guests. I mean, sometimes I may never talk to a guest. It might be all through email. It
Mhm.
really may be. But there again, they know that they're always there. And I let the bride know the expectations from the very get-go of what's going to happen when you know,
Exactly.
what chain is going to happen and when it's going to happen. Because we always talk about it in
Exactly.
the initial conversation, but there's so much going through their head, they kind of tend to forget where everything is. So,
Yeah.
it is always a step process. Not everything's just thrown at you and said, okay, we got your wedding bought now. You got your wedding package done. We're done. We're out. That's
Yeah.
not how
There's
I do
always there's always next steps. And again, like what you said, it's expectation. Okay, this is when we're going to do this. This is when this is going to happen. This is when I need this,
it. Yes.
and just guiding them.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's having that advocate on your side for you.
Yeah. So I think that's, we just kind of want to go over a little bit of that today because, we just got through a really heavy season of, engagement season, Valentine's Day. It usually
Yeah.
doesn't stop after that. Everyone gets engaged throughout the year. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just some things always come out that, they think they want to have a destination wedding. Have they talked to their friends and relatives? Do their friends and relatives want to travel? I mean, those are all really important things to hammer out before you really start digging in. You might think you want to do a destination wedding, but mom and dad may not want to travel.
Yeah.
Grandpa and grandma may not want to travel. Are those guys are really important that you have there? Probably. I had one gal that she wanted to do a large destination wedding, and by the time we talked about that, your A, B list, who's coming, who's not coming, all that kind of stuff. And they finally decided that, they were just going to go and do an elopement and come home and have a reception because they wanted that destination wedding experience, but they couldn't get the guests to go. So there's
Right.
options like that as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, we hope that you found this helpful and gathered some little nugget of information about what the resort team really does, because I think that's what it really comes down to is understanding how that resort wedding planner works, because it's very, very different than a wedding planner that you would work with in the United States. And as I said, Carol and I are both wedding planners and offer additional wedding planning services, whether just on site with you or just planning services during the plot process so your experience is seamless and elevated. Um, so we hope that you did find this helpful.
And the thing of it is like I said there again, just asking those questions because, we work for you. We don't work for the
Exactly.
resorts. So,
Exactly.
if you go direct to the resort, they're not working for you or your guests.
Right.
So, you're doing all the work, and why are you doing all the work? It costs the same to use a travel advisor.
Yeah, exactly. And as with anything, different resort brands do things a little bit differently, but kind of think of it as that resort team is here's the package, and it's like they're kind of like an order taker. Okay, do you want this table or do you want that table? Okay, you want this table. Great. Do you want this appetizer or that appetizer? Okay. Yeah, type of things. They're
And
not going to
you
say to
know,
you, oh,
and
you know
that
what? This resort has some really good soup here. Why don't we see if we can like get them to make an exception to serve this soup as the appetizer? It's just the insider little helpful.
And the thing, and the last, some of the things that what I always notice too is as we know, a lot of these resorts 3 months down, that's when they really, and then it's like
Yeah.
constant back and forth emails, and that just stresses a bride out to the max.
Yeah.
I mean, she's trying to get ready to go to her, wedding, 3 weeks to
Yeah.
3 weeks to, and they're like constantly email. The last one that I did, which I was very unhappy with, never had any issues with that vendor before, but all along the way, we had the final bill from them, everything for the flowers. And then 2 weeks before the wedding, she emails and says, we can't get these flowers anymore. They're going to wilt anyways.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, that is not going to go down. I mean, but that just puts extra stress on the bride. If I wasn't there to lead the way and say, no, that's not going to work. What will you
Right.
give us for this same thing?
Right.
Let's see what we can get. So, I mean, like there
Yeah.
again, we think it's really important that you really interview your people. Um, we do wanted to let you know that we did miss a week last week. It was just been kind of crazy. I got some kind of allergy thing. Don't know what was going on and lost my voice. But next week, we'll be meeting with Wendy White from the Sandals. She is the
That's
wedding
gonna be
coordinator, planner of the whole wedding groups there. We'll discuss some things about Sandals and Beaches and their wedding departments. So if you have any questions, comments, anything that you would like to know about that, you could comment in our below or reach out to one of us by email or text and let us know. We can make sure we put those on your list for the next time.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to have Wendy on here. What people don't realize is just how much is included and how affordable your sandals weddings can be.
Yes, yes.
You
And we'll
really
kind of
do
go
get.
in, yeah, we'll kind of go into about groups too and what they
Yeah,
offer as well
yeah,
next week as
yeah.
well.
So I'm really excited to have Wendy on here. So tune into our YouTube channel, follow us, give us a like, give us a shout out. If you have any questions or comments, as Carol said, you can leave them below. You can also reach us on our website, www.destinationweddingtalk.com, or shoot us an email at destinationweddingtalk@gmail.com. And we would love to address any comments or concerns. If you have a great topic idea, let us know. This is here to help you in planning your destination wedding. So we're excited to be on this journey with you and helping you with your special day.
Yeah, so goodbye for now. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more wedding inspiration and tips. Visit us at destinationweddingtalk.com for resources and updates. And as always, send us your questions to Mindy and Carol. We love hearing from you. Join us again next week for the latest episode of Wedding Talk with Mindy and Carol. Until then, happy planning.